Can you see me okay? All right, I got the ultra wide on my dash here, but okay, so I've been meaning to make this video for a long time, and I'm always procrastinating, or I'm always thinking, you know, like, oh, I need a script, or I need to plan this better, or all this nonsense. And I realized, you know what? It's just noise. It's all noise. Anyway, going downtown, shooting, it's usually very personal for me, and it's not personal at the same time because I'm always going with friends. Other photographers, non-photographers even, just it's a good time. And you know, the weather's nice today, it's finally spring. So I figured, you know what, I'm just gonna take the camera and let's do this. Who cares about a script? I don't like scripts anyway. I've done a couple of podcasts before and I've always said, you know, scripts suck, right? And they do. No, they don't. They're not always, but for me, it just doesn't jive with my personality, and yeah, so let's go. I forgot to mention what the video is going to be about. Well, you know what? We're here, so might as well tell you guys now quickly. Basically, I'm just going to go out, do some street shooting, and take you along with me by strapping a GoPro to the top of the camera here. This is my trusty EOS R. I'm going to be shooting with my RP, and basically, I'm going a little bit challenging today-ish. Prime lens, right? I'm more of a zoom lens kind of guy, but to be honest, I'm also more of a nighttime kind of guy, and wider the aperture, the better. And doesn't get any wider than that. Well, it does. No, it doesn't. This is an f1.2, 85 Mark II. So as you can see, this thing is basically, it's weathered, let's just say. It's aged, it's vintaged. The coating is getting kind of sticky, but you know what? The lens is still perfect. It functions perfect. It's super sharp. Are my other lenses sharper? Yeah, they are. But you know what? There's something about this lens that just, oh my God, the bokeh. Yes, I know. A lot of street photographers always say things like, oh, well, you know, you should shoot not wide open. It's a very amateur move because you risk, you know, losing focus on your subject. And to that I say, well, yeah, actually, but that's if you're not shooting at night, and I'm always shooting at night, so f1.2 helps. So the sun will be setting shortly. Weather's really nice, lots of people out. That's the one thing, because of, you know, everything that's happening right now, that's the one thing motivating me to go out earlier, because, I mean, street photographers, we need subjects, right? And when it gets really dark, things are closed and people kind of stay home because, well, they have to. Where I live right now in Toronto, it's still technically a lockdown, but don't worry, we're going to be outside. We're going to be out walking around. That's still allowed, but you'll notice a lot of my shots from tonight, actually all of them are going to be from the street itself. It's not going in buildings. I miss shooting in the subway, but like, to be honest, if we're not traveling in the subway, I don't think we should be there right now. That's just, you know, courtesy, right? We want to keep distance and things like that. So that's the 85 mil. To be honest though, I mean, my 70-200 is my go-to lens for everything. And I mean, yeah, you guys know, I like, you know, getting in tight with my subjects. So I'll probably do another video on basically all the stuff that photographers say, or street photographers say that you have to do, and tell you guys that you don't have to do any of those things if you don't want to. I've been breaking rules for years now, and I'm surviving. It all depends on your style and what you want to do, what you want to shoot, what you feel comfortable shooting, but you know what? Just take whatever camera you have, even your cell phone, and just get out there and shoot, right? Don't listen to people saying, oh, you have to go wide or you have to shoot at a high aperture because, you know, you risk losing focus of your subject. And that is true. So I will say that, you know, you want to make sure everything's in focus. But if you just keep shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting, that crunchy bokeh, it'll pay off because, I mean, okay, yeah, you're going to lose some of your shots. And as devastating as that may be, it's probably better that you guys, especially if you're starting out, you just go shoot as much as you can. Bring your camera with you wherever you go. I'm gonna do a video about my setup here. I don't know if you can see, but I basically customized the backpack exactly for that reason, so that I can bring at least one mirrorless camera and at least 2 lenses with me wherever I go. It's got a laptop slot in there, so this is basically my mobile office. I'm not the best at sewing, but like I customized this bag, so we'll do a video on that sometime. Anyway, I'm gonna go shoot and yeah, strap the GoPro and, oh, right, mask up, right? Anyway, see you guys out on the streets. That's the one complaint I have about using an old lens like this. It is the Mark II, but I believe it came out in like the early 2000s. And the speed of the focusing, could be better. So basically what's about to happen, or what is happening here, is the photo I was taking, the main subject actually that caught my eye was the guy kind of sitting on the ground, lying up and leaning up against that concrete like bench thing. And the guy in the background noticed me and then put his hands up in the air. Now, because I'm using an f1.2, he wasn't really in focus. I mean, he was, you could tell what was going on, but he wasn't like the focus of the shot. I just thought in the background that was a really interesting element. So of course I snapped it and I was kind of pleased with the results. Anyway, I didn't realize this, and so he kind of had to chase me down, but he wanted a copy of the shot. And I had my headphones in, right? So my earbuds. I don't know if you can tell briefly, I kind of gave him like the peace sign, like thanks, you know, I noticed you in the background kind of deal. But no, he ended up chasing me down, and I'm glad he did. This does happen time to time, you know, when you're out street shooting. This series here that I'm going through this night, it's going to happen a few times where people stop me and, you know, I met 2-3 new people, right? So, and I got portraits out of all of them. And that might be something I'm going to explore more going forward, is street portraits. And I really like getting people kind of a fly on the wall, you know, when they notice you. They either give you this like intense stare. It's either confusion, or sometimes people are kind of upset. The upset stuff isn't as interesting. I don't know. I like the look on people's faces, you know, they just like kind of stop and they realize, oh, you know what? Somebody's taking a photo of me. And 98% of the time, people are so happy about it. Like this dude, he was there with, I think, his girlfriend, and they were just, you know, chilling after a long day at work, she said. And yeah, so it turned out to be fun, you know. I connected with them on Instagram, got some portraits. I'll display them now. And yeah, so anyway, let's keep going with the night. I got a couple good shots, I think. Honestly, I liked it too with the yellow, the band in the distance. I was like, okay, yeah, it's fine though. All right, I'll send those off to you like today or tomorrow. All right. Okay, so here I'm really trying to make use of the reflection on this like marble slab. I thought it was pretty cool, but to be honest, it happens in street photography where you try and make a shot happen and it just doesn't. This is what I got. It's okay, I guess. It's kind of abstract, but that's me. Anyway, if you're wondering why I'm hanging around there, that's why. I also managed to stealthily grab this shot. I love the glasses poking out under his hat and in between his mask. So it was a bit of a common theme that night. Here, I'm basically camping out by the shop window, and I snagged 2 shots that I actually rather liked. They might get posted. Yeah, this time of year, with the bright colors in the shop windows and the displays, I absolutely love that so much. So in a second, right here, it's a blink and you'll miss it kind of deal. I'm actually switching cameras. So I have there you go. So it's in my backpack, on my back, and I do it extremely stealthily and very quickly. I don't even stop. It's very important because timing is everything in street photography and photojournalism. I decided to go wide here. I usually have a second camera in my bag that's either wide if I'm already shooting with a zoom or vice versa. So at this point, I'm just switching things up a bit. I was probably getting bored of the same lens, but you know, it is what it is. Anyway. And here, I just absolutely loved the contrast of the bright green of this bank here. Well, it was blue hour, so all the lights and everything, it was just awesome. The shot was okay. I've actually done better through that very same window, but yeah. And then here I quickly panned the camera over to across the street. I saw a woman running. I'm always really curious to see, just to ponder why somebody is in such a rush. When you manage to freeze that moment, they really stand out amongst everyone else who's just, you know, walking about their day. Right here is actually a perfect example of why I love street photography so much. I was actually going for a different shot with the man's silhouette, and I totally didn't even notice that there was like a kid with this like blank stare on his face right next to him poking through. So yeah, that was kind of cool. And here's another example of just how difficult street shooting can be, or at least how taxing it can be on your creativity. You know, you camp out somewhere, you think you're going to get the shot that you have in mind with this edit, and you go back and look at them and you think, it's okay. I threw up that shot there. You be the judge. I probably won't post it. So we're back to regular speed here because I just wanted to chime in and say that's the beauty about these POV street photography videos. You get to see everything. You get to see the process. You even can tell here how right after and before I cross the street, I look both ways, even on the sidewalk. And it's not because, you know, I'm safety Sally here trying to make sure I don't get hit by a car. Obviously that's going through my mind, but number one thing, I'm looking for a shot. In fact, right here, well, almost right here, I will be seeing something across the street. There's this guy kind of just like staring out of the window. And every time I see something like that, it really catches my eye. As I mentioned earlier with the woman who was running across the street, sometimes you just look at somebody and you think, what could be going through their mind? You know, how is their day? What's their family like? What do they do for a job? What do they do for a living? These things really, I don't know. it ponders, it like reverberates in my mind, and I love to capture that. And sometimes, you know, everyone says street photography has to tell the exact story. Well, I actually like to leave a little bit of guessing. Everyone has their own story they overlay on top of the image, and I think that's just amazing. That's why one of my favorite photographers of all time, Saul Leiter, he didn't always get people's faces, and when he did, it was like, it wasn't the typical news image that you would see. It was something a little bit more abstract, and I'm very inspired by that. And as you probably have seen on my Instagram, an ongoing theme. I love shooting through things and just like having the light kind of set up a scenario where you know that that's a 70-year-old man staring through a window, but like that's kind of it. Like you don't know who it is or where he's standing, and that's what I want the viewer to come up with for themselves, because there's something magical about that. Anyway, back to the video. So right here is where that shot I was mentioning just now, I'm going to take it. And I don't know if you noticed, but I'm checking my settings and making sure everything's perfect first, and then kind of slowly going over, because I want to get that fly on the wall look, so to speak. I want him kind of as I saw him from across the street. I want that captured. His blank stare out into the abyss, just him and his thoughts. I always walk by this one spot, and I just love the lights here, the way the lines diverge and everything. I haven't always been able to get like the ideal shot. I was happy with that one, but probably gonna do a lot more of that spot. So here coming up, I see a shop window, and I love shooting through windows, and the light was perfectly concentrated on the sidewalk, similar to the last shot where I was just waiting for the right subject to walk through the frame. And the way the lighting came out, I guess because it was blue hour, it out of camera had that really punchy teal and orange look. Her pants are bright red, and it just fit perfectly. But no matter how I edited that shot, it looked like those popular, you know, Instagram teal and orange shots right out of camera. And that color scheme is great and all. I just think it's a bit overdone. So I was kind of hesitant to actually do anything with that shot, but I threw it up here just because it was on video. So I usually shoot a lot more telephoto. Wide is not really what I do. And I had the 15 to 35 RF lens with me, so the ultra wide. And so I tried wide for a few shots, and that last one was one of the results. I don't know, it was okay. I see the distortion in the buildings though, so any architectural photographers here will cringe. I kind of did, but whatever. It is what it is. So I don't subscribe to the philosophy that photography needs a whole lot of rules, but there are some that I still follow. I always avoid taking photos of the disadvantaged or just people who are down and out. I just don't think it's right unless I'm specifically shooting a portrait or like a story based on that for some kind of media story or whatever. I won't do it. And I didn't realize though that one lady who was standing there just staring into the window and like at everyone who walked by, I didn't realize from a distance. So I snapped that photo. I do kind of like it just because she has this stare, and as the other woman walks by, she just kind of looks like not terrified, but like confused, I would say. But yeah, I just thought I would add that in case anyone was wondering who does know me, because they'll see that and think like, oh, that's slightly out of place for Andreas's style.
So here, I saw a scene and this car like parked right in front of the camera. I wanted to get these guys kind of just like looking off into the distance. They were chatting. I wanted to make it look natural, right? I guess in a way the car kind of distracted them, and then when the car left, I snapped a shot. This spot here, it's kind of touristy. It's called Yonge and Dundas Square. If you're from Toronto, you know. As a photographer, you fall into two camps. Either one that loves to shoot here or one that's kind of tired of it. I'd fall into the latter category, but I was feeling the vibe. I walked down there and I was trying to get a shot where the traffic behind that dude, kind of selling his wares, so to speak, I wanted the traffic to whiz by at a decently slow shutter where I can still get light trails, but still have it steady enough where he was sharp. The conditions weren't suited for that, but the shot was okay. Footage sped up here a bit just because I was camping out in front of this shop window for a while. I grabbed a few shots. They were okay. I really like how the reflections and the lights in the background were there. I tried desperately to get myself kind of exposed properly. I'm in that reflection on the right-hand side of the frame. But after doing multiple exposure shots and editing them together in post, they just, I don't know, they look too processed. I'm a big fan of that film dynamic contrast. So I mentioned earlier that I would meet some people along this photo walk. And this guy here, he asked not to be recorded. He came up to me, and usually when people come up to me, it's for one of two reasons. One, can I not be photographed? Or two, hey, can you take my photograph? This guy was neither. So he came up to me and he said, oh, what kind of camera is that? And I kind of told him, I'm like, yeah, it's one of those mirrorless cameras. He said, oh, is that a Canon? I said, yes. And the reason why I kind of shrugged him off pretty quickly is when you do street photography, especially at night, long enough, you really have to know the neighborhood you're in. And you kind of always have to be aware. So I mentioned how I was at a touristy spot, kind of in the center of the city. Well, after a certain hour, it can get kind of sketchy sometimes. And so somebody comes up to you and asks you, what kind of camera you have, or, oh, that must be expensive. They might just be making small talk, but always be worried that it could be something else. So I kind of just dismissed them and went on my way. So I don't know if you guys booked it already, but I actually circled around this whole area, I think twice already. And I came back to this one corner because there are these two guys sitting there talking, and I don't know, something about them, they just looked so interesting. I circled around and I was hoping that they would still be there. And sure enough, they were there when I came back. So I was intrigued by the reflections and the lights and this gentleman sitting there. I snapped this shot. I think it's okay. Nothing special, in my opinion. So as I mentioned earlier, I had my ultra wide angle lens with me that day, and I was kind of pushing myself to use it more. And I love reflections. I love abstract colors and silhouettes. I love silhouettes. So I saw this bus stop and the lights were incredible. They were reflecting almost all of those things. Yeah, silhouettes, lights, bright colors. It was really cool and it was very abstract, and I was quite happy with a lot of those shots. The second one I think is cropped just because I really wanted to get tied in on the subject. It was a reflection of a police officer. I think he was actually issuing a ticket. And I didn't have time to grab my 70 to 200, which was in my backpack. So crop it is. So at this point in the video, we're almost at the half an hour mark. The night goes on for a long time further, but I actually met up with my friend David, who you see on the screen here. And the rest of the night was less street photography oriented. We definitely did street photography. My buddy David, he's also a photographer. And because I've been doing a lot more photojournalistic work lately, we stopped by, there was a demonstration at a statue close by, and I shot some of that. But because I submitted those photos to news agencies and things like that for work, right? I don't know if I can post that on YouTube just yet. Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, so yeah, you know what? That concludes the video. The last shot that I showed there, it was the ambulance, the guy looking through it. I just thought his glance, his stare out of the window and the reflections, it was just like, I love that. But one thing that initially caught my eye, and the reason why like I pointed my camera in that direction was, I mean, in Toronto, it's about what, a 45-minute drive to a city called Hamilton. And that was the city that was marked on the side of that ambulance. So I don't know if that has anything to do with like the, health situation that's going on right now. But I thought that was interesting. So I snapped that shot. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. I hope you did. And I really hope that it wasn't too long, or it was, I hope I talked enough. I kind of put it together in a way where it's more my style. So like the vibe and everything, just kind of like relax and take you guys along and explain things. That's kind of how I would want to see the first person street photography videos on YouTube. And I figured, you know what? No one's done it yet. So I'll throw out mine, and we'll see how that goes. Anyway, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And yeah, until next time, stay safe and keep shooting. Peace out.